in the background or the pigeons?
Yes, but it's not problematic.
Okay, it's not too distracting.
No.
Okay.
Are we live, Sam?
I think we're broadcasting now.
Excellent. Thank you. So friends, we'll be starting up in just a couple of minutes here with the 3rd annual John R. Park Homestead Backyard Maple Makers Contest. So bear with us for just a couple of minutes so we can be sure that everyone is joining us who wishes to watch tonight, and we'll get started shortly. Thank you. The birds provide some rustic background music. I like it. I think it's good.
It fills in the silence.
Yes, I was thinking we need fiddle music, friends, for a maple contest. I'll add that to the notes for next year.
They've got some unique music, like maple inspired music out there too. So
there's some really nice music from like the Cabana Souk and the sugaring off parties.
awesome.
Yeah, some reels and things. Yeah, one of our volunteers plays some of them beautifully on fiddle, and
nice.
with the live festival and evening events, that's really nice to take part in.
Definitely. You should be taking notes, get some ideas. Sure.
Does she play that on the violin?
Yes, it's a gentleman, and he does. Yeah, he's really, well, we've had certainly female violinists as well, but we do a barn dance often at some of our evening events at the John R. Park Homestead. So it's really nice to have that live music that's period appropriate too.
It's great.
So just 1 minute until we're going live, friends, with the 3rd annual John R. Park Homestead Maple Syrup Makers Contest, Backyard Maple Syrup Makers Contest. So hang on just one moment. We want to be sure everyone's here that wishes to join us, and we'll begin shortly.
New glasses for her. Or did she ever wear glasses?
You can ask her. She's right there.
Your glasses look really nice on you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Jean. Yes.
Have you always worn glasses?
I do, but not with my, well, I have a different pair for my pioneer costume. So it depends when you see me. I feel like my modern look keeps me incognito a little bit from my pioneer persona.
Superman Clark Kent thing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, friends. I think to keep everything prompt, we're going to begin. So welcome to the 3rd annual John R. Park Homestead Backyard Maple Syrup Makers Contest. We're glad you could join us online this year for our first ever virtual version of this event. Normally it's hosted as part of our Maple Syrup Festival in person at the John R. Park Homestead. I'm Chris Ives, curator of the Homestead. I'm joined tonight by Samantha Keller. She's our interpreter at IRCA and our tech wizard tonight. As well, it's my special pleasure to introduce our event partners from Giffin's Maple Products. So I have a great little bio to read for you on each of them. Introducing first, Jean Giffen. Jean is the owner of Giffin's Maple Syrup Products. Jean started the company with her late husband, Don, and his father, Gerald, in 1983. Their roots in maple do run deep. Growing up, she spent many springs with her family making maple syrup in Elgin County. Jean has contributed a lot to the industry, teaching other producers how to make maple products, such as maple butter, maple jelly, maple candy, maple sugar, and my favorite, maple floss. If you own a VHS player, there are tapes of Jean demonstrating the confectionery tricks to these products that was made for the New York State. Don and Jean have won world champion for maple syrup in 1997 and for their maple products in 1998. Since those triumphs, they have been on the judging panel for the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair, where the title is crowned, with Jean becoming the lead judge as of last year. So we're very honored to have Jean as one of our judges tonight. Diane Rivard grew up in the sweetest house in the area, learning all about maple from her parents. She never knew that her grade 7 science project would turn into part of her everyday life in the future. Coming back to the family farm 2 years ago, she continues to master the classics while innovating new products like maple pearls, maple sauces, and some other top secret products that we're not allowed to tell you about just yet. Diane enjoys the creative process of creating new, exciting packaging and seasonally themed maple candies. continuing on the next generation with her husband, Adrian, and their 3 children. Adrian Rivard has been part of the family for nearly 20 years. During the spring, Adrian focuses on the bushwork and running the important evaporator. He also designs all of the labeling and manages the operations and technical sides of the business. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we're so excited and pleased to have you here. Before I turn it over to Giffins for the information everyone is waiting for, of course, I wanted to just mention, since you're watching this tonight through YouTube, there is still an opportunity to submit questions or comments for the Giffin maple products, and you could send those through our Gmail address. So it's ercaeducation@gmail.com. That's ERCA education@gmail.com. And near the end of tonight's presentation, we'll monitor that Q&A and try and get any responses that for questions you may have. So thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us tonight. And as I said, it's my pleasure. I'll turn it over now to the folks from Giffins.
Well, thanks for having us out here tonight. It was a lot of fun judging everybody's entries. Before we get going, I know we do have a bit of a program and some information to pass on. Just pass me that. Yeah, it's great to be judging again. Sorry, yeah. So I guess part of everything, we can tell you guys how the evaluation part works. So we judged in accordance with the International Maple Syrup Institute's guidelines for judging. Essentially, your scorecards work with 4 different categories. You're judged on all the flavor, which is worth essentially 100 points is the total system. Your flavor is 40 of those points. Your density itself is 30 of those points. Your color is 20 and your clarity is 10. That adds up to 100. So flavor is, to reach into that one quickly. Should I have these in order? Here we are. It's the most important characteristic that we do judge. It also is the most difficult. It's basically one of the biggest things we look for is a maple character to it, and then how that should really come through first and foremost. And then another thing that we always are tasting for are any defects in the syrups. We can go into those later on. So yeah, that's the huge part of your score is your flavor. And then the next thing we talk about is your density. So maple syrup technically is maple syrup at 66% sugar, and then it's over density if it's at 68.9% sugar, and it's no longer technically syrup, it's more of a paste. So in order to get your top 30 points, you need to be between 66.5 and 67, I believe. So then you get your 30 points. Otherwise, if you're between 66 and you're 66.5, or if you're over that 67, then you only get 25 points. That's how that's awarded. Color is the next factor that we look at. So one thing that we, in a really big contest, we would have a lot more entries. We had 6 this year, which is great. It's more than last year. We're very excited for that.
I think that was the biggest number yet. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
So generally in a competition like the Royal Winter Fair or something, like last year they had 186 entries. Everybody would submit their entry based on this is a golden, this is an amber, a dark, and a very dark. And then you can put 1 entry for each grade. Now, as we're not necessarily dealing with people who run multiple thousands of taps, you know, if in a year you make 250 milliliters or a liter, that's great. You know, we want to encourage everybody to be making syrup. So it's really difficult to put that color class really fine into things. And so what we did is if your syrup is an amber, you get your 20 points. If it's dark, you get 15.
Amber's kind of the target. Like amber is your table syrup that most people like. So we actually have some samples that we put in clear bottles so you can see the color differences.
Yeah, and normally we have our grading kit here for our, to show you what would normally come through. So a golden would be on this side, and then your sample here, and then your dark. Sorry, it's an amber and then a dark. They don't usually put the very dark on there because we put these ones here to show you, but a very dark is very dark. And then again, if you kind of compare the other grades here, as I fumble.
You
with
need
my
another
hands.
hand. There you go.
Then you'd have, your golden, your amber, and your dark there. So this year's entries are both in these two categories. Nobody had the golden.
Or very dark.
Or very dark. The golden itself, the way that comes through is as the maple syrup season starts, the trees have very light color to the syrup. And as the season goes on, the enzymes change. Generally also happens as your sugar content decreases. So one thing that happens is you need to boil your syrup longer. And it's just that Maillard reaction happening. Same thing with, sugar making confectionery stuff at home. You'll make molasses on your stove if you boil sugar for too long. So it's that same reaction that's happening. So that's where the color came in. It's a slight variation to the actual rules that we just to assign some grades to that. Yeah, because nobody this year, it wasn't in the rules to say this is an amber, this is a dark. And again, it was just our sample pool that we had. It's great that we had entries, but it would just be too hard to have everybody submit different grades. And then the last thing you're judged on is your clarity. That's 10% of your marks. So if you don't filter your syrup, you will see that it has a haze to it. That's just the minerals that are in suspension. It's your sugar sand. Like us as a commercial operation, everything gets filtered twice at least. When it comes off the evaporator, we run it through a big 5-micron filter, and then when we pack it, it goes through a 1-micron filter. Because another thing that happens too is every time you heat that syrup, it does create more of that sugar sand. So as everything is hot packed when we process it, even just bringing it back up to a bottling temperature does create some sugar sand and that haze. And that's something that, especially as a commercial outfit, we can't have in our products just for that high standards. A lot of the syrup entries this year actually were pretty nice and clear. We were pretty impressed with that. Like we've seen some other stuff that's got really big sediment on the bottom. But it actually looked fairly good this year. Yeah, so that's essentially how we do that. And then just to circle back real quick to measure the density, we do have a digital refractometer where we take your sample, and then we just put one little drop on the sensor here, and then it'll give us a number here, which we do calibrate before, especially when we judge, to make sure that it's accurate. And then that will just give us an easy readout. And then for the grades too, we also use a digital spectrometer. It does measure the light transmission. So this is getting calibrated, and then
It tells you the grade of the syrup,
yeah,
essentially.
and so in your color categories, they made it really easy to figure out what's what. Golden has a light transmission, is what they refer to, of
I don't know if you can see that.
0 to 100. Your golden being that 75 to 100. Your amber is that 50 to 75. 25 to 50 is your dark, and then below 25 is your very dark. So that's how we come up with the technical side of things on your syrup, which you're judged on. And then flavor is, of course, based on palates, and we're very fortunate to have one of the best ones. So yeah, that's how that happens.
Those instruments are what we use at the Royal. I take these exact ones down and they're used.
And we use them every day in the kitchen and maple facility. So
that's how that works. Then yeah, for those of us who are joining us who maybe are interested in this, but maybe are not necessarily contest entrants, competitors, just a quick synopsis on how to make maple syrup. So, of course, in the spring, we go and tap our trees. We drill holes in them. They're 1/2 inch deep, sorry, 1.5 inches deep. And then our bush is all a big tubing network. You can use anything as simple as a bucket and just collect that sap. Then yeah, for us, we bring the sap into the sap barn here, we call it. Some people call it a sugar shack, or wherever you boil your syrup. If you're at home, it could just be your back porch, or it could be your garage or kitchen stove. The first syrup I ever made was on the kitchen stove.
And you boiled it over.
Yeah, and that was the only time I made it on the kitchen stove. One thing about maple syrup, don't ever turn your back to it because it will. As soon as you turn your back, it'll boil over, or you'll burn it. Anyways. So yeah, once it comes into the our sap barn here, we take it and we use these hopper tanks, and then for us, the first thing we do is use our reverse osmosis system. They do make backyard size setups for these. All we're doing is taking a lot of the water out of the sap. So our machine is a single post. We'll go from about a 2 or a 3% concentration of sugar up to about an 8. So if you kind of compare that, we use these totes a lot for a lot of our operation. We'll take 4 of these big totes and we will make basically 3 of water and 1 of the concentrate. So that just eliminates a lot of the boiling for us. It's a huge time saver. Anyway, so the concentrate goes into the evaporator, and for us, we run what's called a piggyback. It's just an older piece of technology that predates the reverse osmosis, but it's really efficient for what we ran. So it's a bunch of tubes, then we force air through it. As it boils, it does boil at a lower temperature, and it also recaptures a lot of that steam coming off the bottom flue pan as it does, as that boils. So we're supercharging that up, and then it's going into the back here called the flue pan. And this is just basically like a giant pot of water. It's a bunch of ribs that just increase that surface area, and all it's doing is boiling away. From there, it goes into the front syrup pans, and here's where basically it increases in density until we draw it off up here at the very front. So then from there, we take it and then we filter it, and then it goes into 150 liter drums. We keep in cold storage until we process it. And it's all stainless these days, especially on the commercial side of things. Everything has to be food grade and stainless. Way back in the John R. Parks era, everything was galvanized and or even just iron, and we can't do that anymore. Actually, even as a relic on the wall here is one of our old flue pans from, or sorry, it's a syrup pan. You can see we use it as a display shelf, but it's all rusty and whatnot. You can see even they used to use a lot of lead solder in all these things, so that would certainly not be allowed these days. In the 10 years ago, there's big initiatives in the industry to get all the lead away from everything. So that's basically what we do. And for maple syrup at home, it doesn't have to be as intricate as a 5 foot by 14 foot evaporator. It can just be a pot. That's all it's the
all you need.
easiest thing.
Yeah.
You can have, there's smaller hobby size ones that are 2 feet or so by 4 feet, and it's the exact same concept. You're just boiling that water out of it and bringing up that sugar content. Yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's not really a high-tech thing. It's sometimes I just joke and say, sap goes in there, fire's there, syrup comes out here. That's simple as that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I guess moving on. So we kind of want to move on to your highlights from the entries. Did you want to go into like each one, or did you just want to kind of general notes?
Yeah, I think, sorry. Great question, Adrian. No, I appreciate it. I think probably highlights on what you found. I don't think you have to get into details just yet if you don't wish to, but maybe where home producers do well and maybe some tips for improvement. I think the audience might appreciate that insider knowledge for future entries too, right? Where they could bump up their game next year as well.
Yeah, and like everybody this year, we're giving you all your scorecards and some of our notes on what we found in things. So yeah, kind of on the whole, I suppose. Plug that back in.
Yep.
In general, actually, there was an improvement in the overall quality from previous years. So we're happy to see that everybody is taking things quite seriously. It's good
Yeah.
to see everyone's applying themselves.
One of the big things last year was talking about filtering, and I think just about all of them, there was maybe one or
two that were
two that weren't filtered. So good job, everyone, on that. That's awesome.
Even the densities and stuff. The last year was a little more over the map. This year, most were actually
Yeah, it
pretty
was
close.
in a range,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
in a
actually
good range.
yeah a lot better than again previous years. So it's good to see that everyone's kind of learning
trying.
more and more, and it comes
Absolutely.
with experience. You know, my first day on the job wasn't on this one.
It's
Um,
a learning curve.
It certainly is. And again, it's the more of it you do, it is easier. If you're tapping 4 trees all year, and if you get 4 liters out of it, you're doing pretty good. And again, it's difficult when your maple season isn't is really condensed this year. We're only in the neighboring county, but last year was February 1st, and we were running. This year was basically the beginning of March, so it's been a very short year.
Oh, no, it was earlier last year.
Oh, very early.
Like we could have tapped in early January last year. So
Hmm.
the last 2 years before this were really good years, and then this year was different.
Certainly
So.
different.
That comes and goes, right?
So yeah, I think that everyone did a good job this last year with their entries. Yeah, one thing that we just kind of as a general overview, there were some entries that were in the proper, in the official style of bottle, which is a can chug. Like that's a 250 milliliter jug. And we're probably going to work on some way to get those to everybody next year, just to make it easier on the judging.
It's easier to see it, to
Exactly.
see the clarity, to see the grade. So it'd be nice if it's more uniform.
Yeah, but we'll
Like
work
that.
on that with Chris and
Yes.
make everything a little easier for everybody, make those more accessible. I know that there isn't too much of a maple supply company around here, so they're not easy to get your hands on.
You got to go up north.
So anyways, yeah, I don't really other highlights.
Oh, you're going to talk about the filter?
Yeah, one thing that we again wanted to just kind of go over is it's good that a lot of people are using filters, and they can be as simple as just a cone filter like this. Those are also easy to get from most maple supply companies, and a lot of them do ship. Again, one thing that we really want to highlight is when you guys are using those, make sure that you wash them without any detergent. Don't put them with other laundry. Don't do your towels with them or your socks. Maple syrup is extremely sensitive to any sort of flavors and odors and things that are in the environment. Even as an example, like in here, like we don't run gas engines. We're very conscientious of the fumes and stuff that might get into that syrup. It absorbs it like a sponge. So if you're using filters, make sure that you just wash them with, they used to say warm water. I believe now they're saying cool water, but just plain water. Don't put any soap in there, and
Dry well.
yeah, and air dry it. That's really a big thing, because we're just noticing a lot of that trend in a lot of the entries where there's a little bit of something that's just coming through, and it's not just one entry this year or two. It's actually a little more. I just wanted to make sure that's not really a common error that everybody's doing. And then like even using coffee filters and stuff like those things are those flavors just come right through in that syrup. Like if you put that stuff near it, it's going to taste that way.
It has a bit of an aftertaste. So when you first taste it, it tastes sweet, tastes like syrup, and then you get that little hit of something, and you can tell that it's probably a detergent or maybe the type of filter that was used. So it does come through strongly. So just things to improve on.
So, yeah, I guess without further ado, moving along, or maybe try.
We need a drum roll.
Yeah, I know. Noisy car driving by, that'll work.
Get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I get this in the right order, because otherwise.
Are we allowed to show them?
I'm happy for that. I think that's interesting. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, out of our 6 entries, we'll just show you our top 3. We'll start with number 3. So, let me make sure I get this right.
Do you need some help?
No, that's fine.
Adds to the suspense to make us wait.
Yeah, exactly. So our 3rd place prize was entry 2021-08. I don't know if there's people at home having their lottery ticket numbers, but anyways, that was number 3.
So congratulations to Kim Lewis. That entry is from Kim Lewis.
There we are. And as much as there is a sticker on the front, we have no idea who Kim is. It's not. It's a totally blind taste test. But anyways, so good job on number 3. Number 2. I stumble around pages. Well, actually, no, they both look the same because. Anyways, yeah. So number 2 was entry 005, which again is an 8 Kent jug, but we're partial to it. Everybody had a fair choice or a fair chance not to discriminate against any packaging that was not in the Kent jugs. You guys really stepped up your game on those. So 005 is.
So just confirming 005 is number 2. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just trying to cross-reference this with our entries. 005 is submitted by McFarland and Bernath. Congratulations on 2nd place, McFarland and Bernath.
You do it. You do it. You do it.
All right. Well, and then the 1st place also is an 8 Kent jug. So that entry was 009.
Oh, 009. So congratulations to Ryan McGuire, 009.
So.
Woo, yeah.
Carrying them all the way from Blenheim here.
Yes.
Yeah, so there we are. We're happy on the entries. It was a lot of good syrup this year.
Yeah. Tell people tried really hard. That was nice to see.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you so much. And just to continue that sort of award excitement, we will have a prize for our top winner and ribbons for the top 3. We're happy to make arrangements with those winners to meet at the Homestead. We love to do a photo op for our social media and for your records. I think that's a lot of fun. So we did offer at the beginning, and I don't know if anyone took us up on it. Sam, are there any questions or comments submitted online?
None that have come in yet. I'll keep an eye out though, just in case.
Okay, great. So if you did have a question or a comment for the judges, the email address to send it to is ercaeducation@gmail.com, ercaeducation@gmail.com. And it's really exciting. I was saying that when sometimes it was individuals or family members that came and dropped off their syrup and I received the entries, and there's a lot of pride in producing something yourself and, you know, harvesting something from nature and experiencing the science and the wonder behind that transformative process of maple syrup making. So it was really nice to get that, how it works behind the scenes in a major producer from you tonight. So thanks everyone at Giffin's. Now, before I close officially, Sam, I'll give you one last chance. Any speedy typers? No. Okay. So moving on then, I would close tonight's contest by thanking each of you for joining us tonight, our spectators. Particular thanks to those who entered. As Diane said, 6 entrants. We've only been doing this for 3 years. We weren't sure if anyone would enter a virtual contest, and to get our most entries yet was really exciting for us. It supports the homestead. It helps promote maple syrup making locally. It's a wonderful hobby and a great chance to have your home products evaluated, right? Everybody likes to improve. If you're a hobbyist and you want to do this again next year, it's nice to get that feedback. We will have your scorecard from the judges to share with you as well. And particularly our special thanks to Jean and Diane and Adrian from Giffins for all of their hard work and their time in the busiest season of the year to join us for our contest. It means the world to us. So we hope that everyone can join us in person next year for the Backyard Maple Makers contest. And if not, we now know that we can do it virtually as well. So thank you everyone for your time and your efforts, and congratulations to our winners. Have a great evening.